A long time ago, in a trashy little village, somewhere in the mystical land known as Transylvania, a girl was born. Then a few decades later, she somehow convinced thousands of people on the internet to willingly watch 30-minute semi-serious documentaries about Balkan men dancing in fur costumes, forgotten Serbian movies, obscure mythology, Romanian politics, old cartoons, weird video games, and buildings. Lots and lots of buildings. Somehow, I built a community where I can post a photo dump of a tiny train station in a random Moldovan village, and instead of asking if I'm okay, people get genuinely excited, which raises a fair question. Who exactly is this old hag behind the little PNG character, and how did we end up here? Well, I've been making videos for over 6 years now, though my channel has gone through several rebrandings, from posting my trashy FL Studio music to gaming clips and book reviews to whatever I'm doing right now, so I figured it was finally time to answer some of your questions with a proper Q&A. Now, I could pretend that this was a carefully planned milestone special, but in reality I'm still recovering from a nasty knee injury. My next documentary is taking an eternity to finish, and I was starting to fear the YouTube algorithm would once again punish me for disappearing off the face of the earth. So while I slowly regained the ability to move faster than the viteza melkului turbat, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for you to get to know the person behind the channel. So without further ado, let's dissect this topic. How many languages do you speak, and which ones? Én Erdélyben nőttem fel, egy magyar faluban, és a korai gyerekkorom nagy részét a dédnagymamámmal töltöttem, aki még az osztrák-magyar monarchiában született. Ő nem igazán szerette a román nyelvet, úgyhogy tőle csak magyarul tanultam megbeszélni. Acum, având în vedere că locuiesc în România, vorbesc și limba română, dar evident am și un pic de accent rural maghiarizat. Problema mea este că gramatica română e total opusul gramaticii maghiare. De exemplu, în limba maghiară, cuvintele nu au iar prepozițiile aproape că nu există și din cauza asta le încurc mereu în română și mă disperă. Und dieses Jahr musste ich für die Arbeit Deutsch lernen und das hat mein Gehirn kaputt gemacht. Jetzt wechsle ich jeden Tag zwischen 4 Sprachen und kann keine davon mehr richtig sprechen. Ich mag Deutsch nicht, ich finde die Sprache ist nicht toll, aber so ist das Leben. I pre nekoliko godina počeram sada učim srpski. Onda sam prešla na hrvatski jer očito mrzim samu sebe i htjela sam se još malo mučiti s hrvatskom gramatikom. Nisam dugo učila hrvatski, ali još uvijek znam naručiti burek sa sirom i dupli espresso u mlinaru. And I hate to admit this because it's kinda cringe, but anime otaku san mitte ita toki nihongo o benkyou shimashita. Demo kanji wa muzukashi desu. Kanji ga wakarimasen. Dakara nihongo no benkyou o yamemashita. Demo ima demo ring to shite shigure ya douzo mitai na nihon no band o yoku kikimasu. Kakashi ga sukoshi wakaru to totemo ureshi desu. Does that answer your question? Also, marriage proposal? Hey, toliko sam stara da ti budem mama. Uchoshak. Any cool, unique words in the languages that you speak that you think the world would find interesting? Yes. Japanese has an incredible number of ultra-specific words for things most languages don't even bother naming, like kagero, which means the wavering air you see above hot ground on a sunny day. Also, shigure refers to those brief rain showers that happen in late autumn or early winter. And Hungarian has pitmalat, which is the first pale light that appears just before sunrise. On the other hand, Romanian has amurg, which is the dim light that settles after sunset and lasts until nightfall, which is what I like to take photos of and spam my Insta stories with. And of course, the classic one you will hear in every Romanian and Moldovan song, dor. It's that deep, bittersweet longing for someone or somewhere or something that's absent, which is hard to explain in English in a single word. So in Romania and Moldova, we don't say I miss you, we just say I have a deep, bittersweet, painful longing for you, which is a miserable feeling. What are some Romanian idioms? I get this question at least once a month, and I think it's from the same user, and I always forget to answer, even though I want to, so sorry for that. But Romanian has a lot of wonderfully unhinged idioms. One of my favorites is Africa Rieka Minta, literally translated as to rub mint, which means wasting time or slacking off, and considering how useless our politicians are, I'm surprised the whole parliament doesn't smell minty. Then there's Aizsari Mustarul, that's literally translated as someone's mustard jumped, which means someone suddenly lost their temper, and I have absolutely no idea what mustard has to do with anger, but apparently it's just how we roll. And then there's Avia Shaptian de Acasă, literally to have 7 years from home, and it means someone has good manners or was raised properly, because traditionally the first 7 years of your life are considered the most important for learning how to behave. Now, saying that someone lacks those 7 years from home is like saying that someone is a dumb, disrespectful goober, and the Romanian language is full of stuff like this. What country would you most like to visit that you haven't been to yet? Greetings from Slovakia. Ahoy! I have some personal complications right now and I can't travel, but the minute I get the green light, I'm invading Poland. Krakow first, then Warsaw, and somehow I need to get my ass to Gdańsk and Zalipie, and of course I need to visit my sweet, sweet beloved Moldova. Honestly, I just need to hike through Orheiovec, see Soroka, Europa, Palma de Mallorca, and then just chill in Chisinau for a few days and do absolutely nothing. Then there's Lithuania. I really need to see Trakai Castle, but to be honest, I'm a little nervous about flying in that direction, considering the Ruskies have the aim of a drunk guy trying to piss with the toilet sit down, so yeah. Top 3, 5 or 10 Central and Eastern European cities and buildings. My favorite city is Cluj-Napoca, which, lucky for me, is exactly where I live. That said, my disappointment in this country is slowly starting to outgrow my love for Cluj, so I might eventually move to somewhere more based, like the Czech Republic or the Republic of Moldova. As for cities to visit, Bratislava and Brno and Ljubljana are high on the list, but Rijeka is my number one. And as for the buildings, well, you know what time it is.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe, and I get more ass than a toilet seat.
I love pretty much anything designed by Fender and Helmer, especially the ones in Rijeka, Brno, Bratislava and Cluj. Also, fuck the Kremlin for damaging the Odessa Opera House. I also love Corvin Castle in Hunedoara. I don't think I have to explain why. And of course, I love that train station in Moldova that I posted about a while ago because it's just so cute. Out of all the Central and Eastern European cities you visited, which one had the best coffee? Zagreb ima najbolju kavu. Volim kupiti kavu u mlinaru na onom ružnom autobusnom kolodvoru. If you could choose where to retire, which area, city in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, the Balkans would you choose? Dondoșeni, refuz să elaborez. Do you also have a separate job career besides content creation? Yes, YouTube is just a hobby for me. I'm actually a senior software engineer, backend to be more precise, although I also love doing DevOps work. I can do front-end if necessary, but only the business logic side. I absolutely hate the design part. Thoughts on collaborating with other content creators for a video series on any topics? I did a few collaborations in the past and they were fun, but I don't really want to do them anymore. YouTube is really my escape from the lack of creative freedom at my day job, and I'm sure everyone working in IT knows the frustration of having people with Excel sheets make all the decisions, but on this channel I get to make the Excel sheets. And it's the one place where I can do whatever I want without anyone telling me what and how to do it, and I can just yap and yap about whatever happens to be on my mind. How do you create a video from start to finish? As in, how do you go about it from deciding what to make a video on to scripting, editing, etc. Ei frate, sunt oameni care dau bani grei pentru informația asta. In short, I keep a big Google Doc full of ideas, I put my favorites into a poll and let people pick one, then I write a rough skeleton of everything I want to cover, gather the information for each section and refine it into a proper script. Then, after that, I record it and drop the entire audio track into Wondershare. I have my own workflow here that makes editing significantly easier, so it takes much less time than people might think. Then I get the part that I hate the most, which are the fuck-ass thumbnails. I'm really good at this. You know I hate design stuff. That's about 60 to 80 hours of work, which sounds pretty insane considering that I do have a full-time job aside from this, but I basically gaslit myself into believing that this is just a hobby, it's not actual work, it's like reading and playing video games, so I don't get mentally exhausted by it. Has there been a subject you were curious about but backed out on after researching? Example, a famous historic person that was an absolute monster when they were alive. I didn't have to drop a topic because of a person specifically, but I did have to drop a project because I got too angry while recording. Basically, I got mad at the menaces from the East who were constantly presenting themselves as the saviors of Eastern Europe when they have a long history of being exactly what we needed saving from. So I started making a video about the Kremlin's crimes against Central and Eastern Europe over the past century, and if you're not literacy deficient, you know that that list is long. One invasion after another, followed by occupation, massacres, deportations, famine, all that kind of stuff. The Holodomor, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Katyn, the occupation of the Baltics and the occupation of Bessarabia, and the invasion of Hungary in 1956, Czechoslovakia in 1968, my sweet, sweet beloved Moldova in 1992, Georgia in 2008, Ukraine 2 times, not to mention the 5 border agreements that they signed in the 90s and broke ever since. And then some illiterate motherfuckers will go on TikTok and say, "Da ce aveți voi cu Rusia? Ce v-a făcut Rusia?" Bruh, this is why when I become a dictator, I will make everyone pass the history quiz before they are allowed to use social media. Cum adică, da ce v-a făcut Rusia? Frate, deschide o carte, băga mi-aș... The question of all questions. Ketchup or mayo? Someone gave the based answer, mustard, which is coincidentally exactly what just jumped for me here. But for me, it's mayo any day, but not the kind that you buy in the store. I'm talking about the homemade mayo your mom makes from fresh eggs, mustard, and olive oil for salata de boeuf. Also, favorite food? I like any cuisine that features lots of minimally processed meat and fresh veggies, like a good plate of Balkan grill with a side salad, a proper shawarma, anything Greek, Turkish, Japanese, Vietnamese, even Mexican. Basically anything that's the exact opposite of McDonald's and KFC trash. But my actual favorite food is a recipe that I came up with myself, and everyone I've made it for agrees it's amazing. It's basically a super simplified version of the Vietnamese pho, except the broth is made mainly using chicken breast, and with roasted star anise and coriander and ginger, it has a really delicate flavor. Then you just throw in some greens or whatever you feel like adding, and it's perfect. I call it fofa, and it's a cure for depression. If you could replace Dracula, what would you want Romania to be known for? The folk culture, like the capra, the bear dance, Kiparushul, and the Călușari. Also, Alexandra Capitanescu. Who are your favorite artists and bands? Are you sure you want to open that gate? Because I can talk about this for hours upon hours. But number 1, Avenged Sevenfold, especially the self-titled album, absolute masterpiece. I love pretty much anything that features Chris Cornell's angelic voice, especially Revelations by Audioslave. Deftones, bro, I'm literally wearing a white pony t-shirt right now. Linkin Park is kind of a seasonal thing for me. Every summer I put them on repeat, and then as soon as the autumn arrives, I completely forget they exist. And my favorite albums from them are actually Hybrid Theory, which is very basic, and Living Things, which a lot of people might not agree with me. And my ultra controversial opinion is that I love Metallica's Saint Anger. I mean, especially songs like The Unnamed Feeling and Frantic are actually really good. And as I mentioned earlier, I love Rintoshi de Shigure, because sometimes when life gets hard, I just need to sit on a swing at an empty playground at 2 a.m. and listen to a Japanese man screaming about wanting to disappear. Dozo is also great. If you watch Gintama, you probably know them. The Instagram algorithm has also blessed me with some amazing artists from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, like Punched Orange and Wirefall from Poland, and Hell Hills from Lithuania. I've also been listening to this album by Max Korj on my way home from physical therapy, and it genuinely helped me stay insane during these difficult days. And last but not least, our Slovak queen Adela. I Never Thought a Song, inspired by the story of a girl from communist Czechoslovakia whose father had to illegally smuggle Madonna posters from Germany because they were banned, would become one of the biggest hits of the summer. But here we are, and I love it. For pure folk music, Muzsikás, especially their Bartók album, because it features a lot of Transylvanian folk music, mainly Hungarian but also Romanian, I also listened to a lot of folk metal and ethno rock and all that kind of stuff. Karna from Ukraine is a recent discovery for me. I didn't even know that Hutul metal was a thing until now, but I'm obsessed. Hrdza from Slovakia is a classic for me, and from Romania I like Dirty Shirt, who are the only good thing that came out of Maramuresh. What's it like growing up in Romania, Eastern Europe, specifically school life, cultural traditions, parenting styles, children's cartoons, and any experience that you think is relevant? Well, I grew up in rural Transylvania in a minimum wage family, which wasn't exactly easy in the 90s. At one point, some goobers stole all the phone cables in our village and sold them for copper, after which every phone company basically blacklisted us, leaving us without internet until fiber optics became available. There was also a bakery in the neighboring village that kept stealing water from our village reservoir. So during summer droughts we would occasionally be left without running water. There was a charity program where volunteers helped underprivileged kids with their homework, so we had lots of foreigners visiting our village, including a Japanese guy who immediately decided the most important thing we should learn was the most vulgar word in Japanese. Also back then, a surprising number of Japanese tourists passed through our village, and my dad somehow became friends with one of them despite neither of them speaking a common language, and we took him hiking and he taught us Japanese folk songs like Sakura, Sakura, Yaoi no Sora wa. Also, I grew up in a Reformed Christian village where the biggest cultural event is confirmation, where teenagers formally confirm the faith they were baptized into, and girls get to wear this folk drip that can cost over 2,000 euros and weigh around 20 kilograms during a 3-hour ceremony. And yes, this may or may not bankrupt some parents. Regarding parenting, even though my parents were far from perfect, I can confidently tell you out of probably 95% of Eastern Europeans that I know, they were still among the most normal parents, which is honestly just depressing. Parents here tend to be emotionally detached and very stoic, always teaching you to man up, keep quiet, be independent, and not ask too many questions, which I think is partly a legacy of the communist era when paranoia about snitches and the survival first mentality shaped the entire generation. And of course, many families here struggle with domestic violence, often fueled by alcoholism. Not to mention that the downside of village life is the gossip culture where everybody knows your business and people just mock others' misery and trauma as a hobby. And looking back, that toxic environment is probably the reason alcoholism is so common. As for cartoons, I grew up watching Loleki Bolek and Hungarian folktales. My favorite cartoon to this day though is Safi.
Most megint macskává változott. Most meg újból lány. Sipirc. Ez lehet a varázsige.
Balkan traditions are so similar, yet we are still so separated. Do we need more Balkan festivals? Yes. I know things in this region rarely end well when we decide to link up, but we really need a joint Balkan masked festival. We already have little crossovers like the Bulgarian cookery appearing at Ziva Kuchilor in Romania, the Kurents joining the Rijeka Carnival in Croatia as guests, and I say we all meet somewhere halfway and throw one giant masked festival, which according to the map would probably be somewhere in Serbia. Actually, maybe let's keep looking for another place. Also, the Greeks can bring their Genitsaroi and Macedonians can bring whatever they are wearing at the Vevchani festival, and everyone can join in too, and that would be awesome. I'm told that during the interwar years, relations between Czechoslovakia and Poland were strained at best. Would you happen to know the reasons for this? This is why I love my audience, because normal people get questions like how old are you or what's your favorite color? Meanwhile, I get to explain the complexities of Central European geopolitics, and I love this. Basically, after World War I, both Poland and Czechoslovakia claimed
Cieszyn Silesia,
which led to a short war in 1919. The Allies eventually split the region in 1920, and many ethnic Poles woke up one day like, oh kurva, we live in Czechoslovakia now. So that decision wasn't exactly popular in Poland. And although the two countries traded with each other and were both worried about Germany, they never built a strong alliance because they didn't really trust one another. Then during the Munich crisis in 1938, Pepik from Czechoslovakia looked out the window and said, "Tivoli, the Polacks are coming." Because yes, Poland Poland took advantage of their weakened position and annexed Silesia, which badly damaged their international reputation. Now, less than a year later, Germany invaded Poland, and both countries ended up as victims of Nazi expansion anyway, and that's why historians still debate whether closer Polish-Czechoslovak cooperation before the war could have presented a stronger front against the Austrian painter. Favorite Balkan authors or poets? I really like Ivana Bildić-Mažuranić, who is considered the Croatian Hans Christian Andersen, but I think she's much cooler. She pioneered the use of Slavic mythology in fiction long before authors like Sapkowski made it popular, and I feel like her work influenced many other Slavic fantasy authors. Any insightful Eastern European quotes or good jokes? Yes, every single line from the movie Pelišti.
Prcat.
To jsou lžičky, které vyvinuli výzkumníci z NDR. Víte?
Mě by jenom zajímalo, kde udělali soudruzi z NDR chybu.
Stříleli za války do vzduchu.
Hledáš někoho, soudruhu?
Cože?
Tati! Tati, jsou tady Rusové.
Co? Co? Tak jim řekni, že hned přijdeme, ať počkají, no.
Pojď sem, pojď sem. Ty jsi měla na škole tu ruštinu. Jak se řekne rusky? Hajzlové.
Duraky.
Coolest coat of arms, modern or historical, that you stumbled upon? My favorite one is definitely the Corvin Raven, and that's exactly why every time I play KCD2 I steal Sir Jezek's armor. I don't want to get into politics, but what is your stance on Székely autonomy in Romania? Măi, nu dăm autonomie secuilor că avem nevoie de cei 700.000 de oameni care votează constant împotriva PSD și AUR. Last question, all-time favorite dessert in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, the Balkans? Kürtös kalács. De nem az a szemét, amit Budapesten árulnak, hanem az az igazi erdélyi kürtös, amit egy idős néni sütöget az utca szélén egy falunapi fesztiválon. I think that's all we can get to today. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening to my ramblings. I hope you will enjoy my next video, which should be out in 2 to 3 weeks. And honestly, I really appreciate you all. I enjoy reading your nerdy comments and even some of your usernames, because when I had to take a job recently in a language that I didn't speak and was somehow expected to become fluent within a few weeks, and then lost access to my finances because some goobers tried to commit identity fraud using my accounts, causing the bank to panic and lock everything, and then had to get the police involved, I genuinely thought things couldn't possibly get worse. Then I got patellar tendonitis. So never say never, I guess. But even on the worst days, when I pull out my phone and see that some goober named I don't like hair dryers liked my story, I can't help but smile. So yeah, stay nerdy, Wildlings. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Shout out to my channel members, especially the Papa Nice supporter Sophia, and thanks for tuning in and have a nice day.